the signals for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
It's amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending, exciting, thrilling finish in the history of college football. California won the big game. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes. Unbelievable.
This is Phil Steele.
This is Mike Burnham.
This is Wes Durham.
This is Mike Ashley.
Hi, this is Chuck Foreman, number 44 of the Minnesota Vikings.
Woo, mercy, this is handsome Jimmy Vane, the Boogie Woogie Man.
This is Coach Pry with Virginia Tech Football, and you are listening to Big Dog Sports Talk.
Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Okay, let's do it.
You're in the doghouse with Rick Watson on Big Dog Sports Talk, presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Join us in the Family Fencing Studios and chime in on the McClellan Chiropractic chat line. He's keeping cool with help from Little River Heating and Air, but this show is straight fire. And now, the big dog, Rick Watson.
And a pleasant good morning to you wherever you might be here on this Monday, as we all begin another work week coming off full football weekend. Of course, big news, obviously, yesterday hit when Virginia Tech fired Brent Pry as the head football coach. We'll get into the statement, what it means, and what could be coming next. Jermaine Ferrell scheduled to join us coming up at the beginning of hour number 2. Damien Sordelett, the Virginia Tech football beat writer, will join us coming up at 7:30. And then Dwight Vick is going to jump on today. And we jumped on after the game on Saturday night. We had our first live game, post-game stream. And thanks everybody who joined. We've had over 1,100 views of that stream. And many of the things that we talked about expecting to happen the next day did indeed happen. And we'll have some perspective on that. And we will get into what the future may hold, because I think there's still a lot of ambiguity. We'll go down, we'll break through the statement. I want to get your thoughts. Join us in our McClellan Chiropractic chat line here in the studio, our chat room. And everybody, please, our professional door BDST text line, it has been blowing up for the last 72 hours, I guess. I'm not great at math. So let me know your thoughts. And by the way, I want to say this. I was trying yesterday on our BDST Facebook page to keep everybody updated with what was going on, because that's really kind of our news page. And yesterday, the 3 posts that I put up, or 4 posts that I put up, had over 200,000 interactions. Blows my mind. So thank you so much for those of you who shared that, got it out there into the wilderness. And thanks to all the brand new subscribers that we have picked up over the last 24 hours as well. Welcome to BDST here on YouTube. And let us know your thoughts. First of all, we'll take care of some business. We want to thank Family Fencing for sponsoring our studios here as we're in month 2 of the new show. A no-dig installation system, no holes, no mess, locally owned and operated. They have finance options available as well. And we appreciate Jason Green and all those folks at Family Fencing for all their support. Also, I mentioned McClellan Chiropractic chat line here in the studio. I want to see what everybody's going to say on the comments. No wrong answers. It's your opinion. Thanks to Mark Hunley and the crew. We will be doing the GoPro and going over there and, getting broken up and so forth. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Each and every week, we are presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment here on the program. I want to thank all those folks so much, and we're going to keep reading about all the great things that they have going on up there in Pulaski County. Little River Heating and Air. Go see Charles and Company. We're going to start getting pretty chilly pretty soon. Leaves are starting to change. Grass is turning brown. So we'll make sure your heating units are up to snuff. You call Little River Heating and Air and you won't regret it. Tell them you heard us talking about it. Also, the attorney Ryan Pry in Radford will have a BDST fan question of the week. So many different layers that could take this week involving Virginia Tech's head coaching search. So we'll see about all that. And thanks to Lara Ramsey, the National Bank member FDIC. Been a part of their banking for about 35 years now as a customer. And I'm so honored that they're our exclusive banking partner here on the program. And I mentioned it a little while ago, but thank you so much, Professional Door Incorporated in Dublin. Thanks to Travis Williams. Garage doors, residential and commercial, Route 100 across from NRCC. Sponsors, now's a great time to jump on. My goodness, we're gaining subscribers every week. The views are out of this world. Thank you so much for everybody for jumping on and finding the program in this new format. I wasn't sure how it would adapt, so thank you so much. And then yesterday, getting the report about how many people looked at our Facebook page posts and interacted. That was mind-blowing, 200,000+. So we're getting out there. We're growing this thing. It's all because of you, and I've said this from the get-go. It's all because of you. Thank you so much. All right. So yesterday, I got a text early in the morning from someone in the know, and it said Brent Pry has been notified that he is no longer the head football coach. We had to wait a few hours. I'm not worried about being first and breaking news and being that person. I could have went public with that. I did not. I'm never going to betray a source who I've been trusting and have known for a long time. So I had no doubt that that was going to happen. And then, of course, it was about 2 hours later, it all started to come down. Pete Thamel from ESPN got it out there on 3, and I'm like, okay. So then we finally put it up. But not surprising in any way, shape, or form. We had speculated on it during our post-game live stream the other night when Dwight and Neil Leahy joined me. I thank those guys so much. It was a lot of fun to kind of vent after that game, which we'll have to get into at some point. But now we know that the game doesn't really matter in terms of what the rest of the season may look like. Philip Montgomery, as I speculated during the stream, Philip Montgomery has been named the interim head coach, and it makes sense in one perspective. I know there was a clamoring for potentially J.C. Price, but he may not have wanted it, and Philip Montgomery had head coaching experience, so it's not a surprise that he got bumped up into that position. It's interesting. It's notable that Tim Sands, the president, is the one who made the decision. There's not one quote in the official leadership transition underway memo that was sent out from Whit Babcock, the athletic director. It's all about Tim Sands. As a matter of fact, then they announced they're going to have a committee. I don't understand this whole – it angered a lot of people, and I get it. It seems a little bit unorganized, but what it tells me is Whit Babcock's going to have nothing to do with this hire. As we told you, there was no way he was going to be part of a third head coaching hire. There was something in there about him still trying to raise money and so forth. But I am guessing what it means is that Whit Babcock's going to be allowed to go ahead and retire. I do not believe he'll be the athletic director for very much longer, but he probably reached some kind of agreement to where he'll be able to go out and at least have a retirement announcement. And my guess is that they then will go out and have a national search. I'm just going to say this right now because it's true. If the first phone call once the AD job comes open is not to Matt Rohn at JMU, I don't know what you're doing in Blacksburg. Not saying you have to hire him, but you better talk to that guy. Any event, here was the message from Tim Sands, the president, in case you did not see the official release. Coach Brent Pry has been relieved of his head coaching duties effective immediately. We appreciate Coach Pry's efforts and service since 2021. Unfortunately, results on the field were not acceptable, and a change in leadership is necessary. Philip Montgomery will serve as the interim head coach. We will continue to fully support our team and student athletes for the remaining games as we strive together to significantly improve the trajectory of our football program this season. Board of Visitors members John Pearson and Ryan McCarthy have been charged by the rector, John Rakovich, to work with university leadership and Whit Babcock to develop a financial, organizational, and leadership plan that will rapidly position the Virginia Tech football program to be competitive with the best in the ACC and so forth. And then Coach Pry had a statement. You don't know how much of it was actually his. Some of it you can kind of tell he didn't write. And, and I said this, and I've said this a whole lot. I hate it for the guy. I hate it for the person. Brent Pry is a really good guy. Came on the show whenever we wanted, back on the radio show. He did all the media requests. He just never was the right fit here. And I don't know how that is actually on him. He was hired by Whit Babcock, a guy without any head coaching experience who was a co-coordinator. He was then allowed, which was the big mistake by Whit Babcock, to allow him to hire two coordinators with zero experience basically at that position, kind of unsupervised. And we saw what happened, right? It feels like, and many of you and I were talking in all different forms of social media yesterday. Yesterday this felt like a work day because I was just talking to so many people. And it felt like maybe when these new coordinators were assigned that maybe he was pushed to hire someone like Philip Montgomery who had coaching experience. I'm just speculating. It kind of fits now that, he's in there as the interim head coach. Hit us up in the McClellan Chiropractic chat room. Jason, good morning. Thanks again, all the folks at Family Fencing. Just know that Family Fencing got over 200,000 exposures yesterday. They're going to have a committee, is what Andy Bitter on our Facebook page, we put it up from Tech Sideline. And I want to make sure I get it right. So mind me real quick here as I get the phone. I just want to make sure I don't mess up the statement. And you tell me what you think, either on the professional door text line or in our McClellan chat room. Andy said, from somebody very close to the situation, the new football coach will be hired by a committee with a chair who's yet to be determined. AD Whit Babcock will assist, but will not lead it. In other words, he will have absolutely nothing to do with it. He may not even be in place when all this happens. And I know a lot of you are upset why they didn't go ahead and get rid of both. I don't, they have their own reasons for the timing, but you can't believe that the house cleaning is over in Blacksburg. It's not even close. This is just the first step. And of course, I don't know if you want to use the word scapegoat, but first person that had to go is the one on the field making the decision, Brent Pry. He'll land on his feet doing something. I guarantee you he'll be back in football coaching if he wants to. Lord knows he's okay financially. $6 million buyout going along with his salary that he'll still receive. He's going to be okay from that regard. But I hope he can get away from it, reassess, and find himself a new path in his career. Like I said, he's a good dude, and nobody wished this on him at all. And I wish it would have worked out for him. I do. But this goes to a deeper problem over there, and it goes into the Virginia Tech football head coaching hiring practices. And what Whit Babcock has thought with both of these, one was managed perfectly when it was executed, and Justin Fuente, the right guy at the right time, ended up being the wrong guy because it was mismanaged once they got here. Now you had someone that not really anybody had on their radar. There were many other viable candidates at the time that would have made a lot more sense. Dave Clawson, Matt Campbell, Kurt Signetti. None of those were seriously considered, and they went with a guy who'd been a GA here, may have been able to be hired a little cheaper, and you get what you pay for. 16 and 24. You get to look like you are the FCS team on Saturday night in your own stadium. And you can't tell me that's not the way it looked. Old Dominion came up here knowing they were going to win the football game. And I took a screenshot of the score and posted it on our Facebook page. When it said 31-0 Old Dominion in the third quarter, it's like you were living in some different football realm, that some kind of bizarro world. Good morning, Rodney, in the chat. And you knew it was the last straw. You knew it was over. You didn't have to wait for the announcement. We went on. Thanks to everybody who joined us. We had, I think in totality, I looked at it. They show you all the different people. At some point, we had like 500 people in that live session on Saturday night. We were on for about 2 hours. We went past midnight, and Dwight was terrific. He'll follow up today. But they looked like an FCS team. Old Dominion looked better. They had a freshman linebacker, number 18. Everybody watched him. He looked like the best defensive player on the field. So I know there are a lot of people, Zach, I see your comment. Players are eligible to transfer. Yes, they will have plenty of players because they did not play 4 games, so they can still salvage a redshirt season. If I'm a Virginia Tech fan, I wouldn't worry at all about any players who might be leaving. This is going to be a complete teardown and rebuild. And you can't guarantee that any coach who's going to be hired would want to look at any of this roster and go with it in this day and age. But what's going to have to happen now is eventually the new athletic director and the university is going to have to get with a plan with the new coach to then go about trying to realize how is Virginia Tech going to go out beyond the ask of the money from the Board of Visitors, who now have a bigger problem on their hands, right? Because the guy who asked them for that money, I guarantee you most of the fan base wants to see a change at that position. He's not going to be involved in the new hire. My guess is he's going to be allowed to retire. He won't be fired. But bottom line is there has to be a complete teardown. So worrying about, I don't know, 2 dozen players now in the larger scheme of things isn't going to affect Virginia Tech going forward. UCLA fired Deshaun Foster, which is so apropos. It's beautiful. And they had their top 6 recruits all leave yesterday. Who cares? That athletic department's never going to get it right, so it doesn't really matter as long as they have their current AD in place. But Virginia Tech has a chance here, and Tim Sands is probably fighting for his job too. I'm just going to be honest with you. The way the whole thing read, he was the one that made the statement. They took Witt out of it immediately. No comments at all from Witt in any of the releases yesterday. It's very telling. And I think everybody's expecting something here soon. The board is supposed to meet again coming up for the end of the month. Feels like we might find out some more things before the end of September. But this was the first step because there still is a focus on the season because there still is 9 games. Philip Montgomery and the coaches met with the team yesterday shortly after the announcement was made official about Brent Pry. And you can make a myriad of things that went on with Brent Pry and how you could kind of see the cracks early that maybe this thing wasn't going to work out in retrospect. The dual quarterback from the get-go, a little confusing. Mentioned the coordinating hires, the silly penalties, the personnel issues when you had 2 of the same number out there, costly turnovers, mistakes, losing close game after close game, 1-possession game, and then losing now to Old Dominion twice. He started his career with a loss against Old Dominion, and a loss to Old Dominion ended his career here in Blacksburg. How about that series that, by the way, was constructed by Whit Babcock? What did that series get you? 3 losses and 2 head coaches were fired. Old Dominion won that series, and they just got money from Virginia Tech to end it, to end the series. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. In this case, Monarch dinner. Old Dominion won that whole series. And I was just struck by how they looked like they were the better football team. They had the better quarterback. They had the better offensive line. They had better skill players. And they had much better defensive players. How does that happen? Everybody wants to talk about NIL, and everybody wants to focus on the money. And I get it because that's what it's all about. You see who's leading the top 20 in the country. It's Big Ten, SEC. One of those schools is going to win the national championship. Old Dominion doesn't have any money. They don't have an NIL program that can even begin to compare to the money that Virginia Tech's paid for their football players. They come up here. Ricky Ronnie had them prepared. Huge chip on their shoulder. And the rest is history. It's not always about money. Not always. It's about how the people that are incorporated to do their jobs and hired, how they handle the money. How do you utilize it? Which is what Babcock was trying to tell the board. How that's going to affect all that, your guess is as good as mine. I don't know. But what I do know going forward is that you can more than likely assume that there's going to be a change there as well. There has to be. He's the guy that hired the football coach who just got fired. His 2 football hires at Virginia Tech, both were fired. He's not going to remain in position one way or the other. So just be patient. It's a matter of time. And Matthew, you hit it right on the head. That's why you're the smartest listening audience to radio. Not because you agree with me, because we're just in sync. Staff, I just said money wasn't everything. It was the evaluation of who they brought in with that money. Now, when they brought in Jalen Lane and Bashal Tootin, they had a couple of huge hits, right? They're both in the NFL doing well. We said on this program before the first week we came back, before we even got into thinking about the opener against South Carolina, how are they going to be better at those 2 positions when they lost their best 2 players at those positions? And sure enough, it's proven to be the case. Tech's been unable to run the football. They did not make good decisions on the offensive line. They did not make good decisions on their, Coach Crooks came in, did not fit here. Rudolph was here. Coach Rudolph was here, lasted 1 year. Maybe that was the first sign, right? The guy who had a ton of credentials that any program would have wanted. Started to be some rumors about the relationship there before his first year was done. He left, went to Notre Dame. Notre Dame's 0-2, by the way. So here we are. And there's going to be a lot more to come. The whole thing needs to be just completely torn down. And nobody should be afraid of that. It can't keep going the way it is under the current leadership. It's not going to go anywhere. And don't you think Tim Sands and the board knows? Don't you think these people that have been singled out, the leadership over there, the upper echelon, the big donors, don't you think they understand who has led the football program to where we are today, talking about a second football coach being fired under the same AD? Don't you think the fish rots from the head? Thanks, Dad. Great advice, or great knowledge, wisdom. It does. It does. You're the person in charge. You're the one making all the money. You're the one who has all the power. This is your problem. And Brent Pry, unfortunately, was a casualty of that. Was he ever qualified to be the head coach? I don't know. It didn't look like it. Not a knock against him at all in any way, shape, or form. It just didn't work out. I think he'll be fine long run. I meant he's going to be fine financially. But I hope he seems like a guy who's good for college football, so I hope he can get back into it if he wants to. David says Tech should hire ODU's entire coaching staff, including ball boys. They obviously know how to coach. Hey, by the way, I discovered this little feature right here. Bottom right here in a second, you're going to see the chat go up on the screen. Do y'all like that or not? Let me know. I discovered this Saturday night during the live stream. So let me know if you like that or not. The professional door text line. My goodness. I mean, I counted from Saturday at halftime to last night. There were over 300 messages on the text line. Great time to come on board, Travis Williams. Hey, sponsors, come on. He says, going forward, Tech has got to have better recruiting and stop getting out recruited. I'm not worried about high school recruiting. It's not important like it used to be. This is about having somebody in here that's going to be able to attract NIL players in here to turn around these programs. Your 5-star high school players aren't going to go to Virginia Tech for quite a while unless you find a dynamic coach that can create a relationship. 4-star players, I mean, you look, Michigan took, 3 of the top 10? It's going to continue to happen. Talking about high school kids at this point, the new coach who comes in is going to have to obviously get acquainted with the high schools, but this whole thing is going to have to be – you need to take your time. There's already speculation. I'm getting a lot of questions. Folks, I think it's worthless speculation to sit here and be talking about potentially who could be the next head coach in Blacksburg. We don't even know what it's going to look like in terms of the committee, how it's going to be set up. So everybody who's sitting there trying to throw out all these names, I saw all these sites. Here's the Virginia Tech hot board. It's week 3 of the college football season. There is no Virginia Tech hot board with current coaches. It would have to be people right now that don't have jobs, right? Who's going to be worried about talking about this job when their season's just gotten underway? I'm not worried about any of that. I haven't even thought about that. What the next step has to be what's going to happen, the timing of it when Wet Babcock is replaced. That has to be the next big thing and who that's going to be leading that department. You're going to have an AD who understands what's going on in college athletics today, that doesn't come in here with any preconceived notions, that understands what it's going to look like 5 years from now, understand where the ACC is and where it might be in just, 2 years? Because I think the whole structure of that league's going to change. And somebody who's going to be forthright and understand that it's a total rebuild. It's okay. There's too much good stuff over there, and it's led by the fans and the supporters in Blacksburg for it just to completely go away. But you have to have the right people in place. And currently, athletic director is not the right guy in place. And everybody's saying, well, he did a great job hiring other coaches. That might be the case. That doesn't matter in terms of who's making the money. There's only 2 programs in Blacksburg that makes money. You know the big one, and the other one's men's basketball. Those 2 hires have to be right. Football hire has not been gotten right. And it doesn't matter how people always try to say, well, he got Justin Fuente right. Yeah, he did, but how did it turn out? How was he allowed to abuse his power when he didn't talk to the media? When he stopped recruiting the state, when high school recruiting was still that thing, when it was still punctuated. Remember, he tried to do the Blacksburg, Texas to Blacksburg. It failed miserably. And Brent Pry's never got off the ground. You thought maybe after the second year, they beat Tulane, who was depleted, obviously, with graduation and with guys opting out when they got 7 wins. You thought maybe, just maybe. And then it went the other way. Last year with all the expectations. And now this year, you're 0-3. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Rodney says a lot of people made fun of Bill Belichick, but a lot of what you're saying is what Belichick is doing at Carolina. Carolina was very desperate. Rodney, you know, you're a lifer, right? I mean, they had to tear it down because nothing they did worked. And is it a gimmick to hire Bill Belichick? It is. Now, let's kind of ease off a little bit because your 2 wins are against Charlotte and Richmond. But they finally just said, you know what? We've got no more dams to give down here. Nothing's working, so let's just try this. Now, whether that works in the long run or not, I don't know. Because we saw one team and how it looked against TCU, and subsequently we've seen them how they've looked against 2 FCS teams. David says the ACC situation doesn't help Tech as far as attracting a quality coach. Correct. Wayne, AD first job is to repair reputation with fans and with the potential future we have in ACC or a possible new conference. How are we planning to make a serious investment in football? That's right. And that's why a new AD has to come in with that vision. That's going to be his selling point. Anthony says, what conference does Tech end up in? If I were a betting man right now, Anthony, I would say the Big 12. And Rodney agrees with me. Hit me up in the McClellan Chiropractic chat room. Long term, Anthony, I think they're going to end up in the Big 12. And maybe a new AD has that foresight. That's what I'm saying. Because what's been going on over there is completely and utterly, it's ridiculous from the standpoint of how disrespectful it is to the fan base. And Dwight hit on this on Saturday night's live stream, which has gone viral, over 1,100 views. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Paul says, check the facts on Virginia players and Texas players. When they had 16 Virginia players, 1 Texas player. Today, there's 15 players and 5 Texas players. Yeah, but remember, they went through the whole big thing where they were calling it at the time, hey, we're going to go get them from Texas into Virginia. And Fuente wasn't getting the top players in the state. That's when Penn State started to really come in here and grab a hold of it. Right? They started to lose all those top 10s, top 15 guys. Anthony thinks Louisville's going to up into Big 12 too. Possibly, yeah, possibly. But Dwight pointed out, and I'm going to let him talk about it today, how the whole thing's been run with arrogance, or the perception from the former players is the arrogance in which it was all run. Right? The arrogance in which it was all run at the time. And I don't know if the players were shown that they weren't appreciated. I'm guessing so. The former players who helped build this era. And it started, Dwight got here in 94, 95 Sugar Bowl, boom, boom, boom. Here comes Mike Vick, boom, boom, boom. Here comes the 2000s, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that's right, Wayne. Yeah, now because of the Old Dominion series, hey, you get to recruit that 757. Remember, that's what we were told. We were told that because of this series, it was really going to enhance Virginia Tech's profile in the 757, as if it ever had problems with that. You know how you enhance your profile in the 757? When you have a head coach who doesn't completely shun all the high school coaches that are in that area when he gets here, and actually, pays a visit to the doorstep of Warwick High School, the school that produced maybe the most dynamic football player we've seen in college football in the last 30 years. A lot of questions about a GM. Yes, I think there's going to be a tactical GM put in place. A lot of questions on the text line about will Virginia Tech end up hiring a Jerry Kill type of advisor, consultant? Yeah, sure. And that's what a new AD would bring in here. Right? But you see, you can't look at it as well strictly from worrying about high school. Is it always going to be a component of recruiting? Yes. But look at these programs across the country right now. They have figured it out. They're using smaller schools, non-FBS schools, as their high school recruiting ground. And they don't have to invest 4 years into those players. They're able to go and just pluck whoever they want. And that's happening. Look at the roster makeup of the teams in the SEC and the Big Ten. Are there high school 5-stars that are going there? Yes, but they're making lots of money. Lots of money. Because they are now part of the whole NIL thing. Look at all these quarterback deals that we've heard about, right? These freshmen coming out, trying to get $5 million deals. That's not high school recruiting. That's NIL. That's it goes back to the whole Virginia Tech NIL problem. Which track record, David says? Buzz, Brooks, Fuente, and Pry. Where are they now? Correct. Kenny Brooks' era ended horribly. Tech fan got very angry at Kenny Brooks for the way he left. Maybe now we get a little insight. I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but maybe there was something else going on there. Brent Pry said, clearly it starts with me. And I didn't get it done. I believe that part of his statement was real. The rest of it seemed, like you would expect. $6 million buyout, those of you who are asking. Whit Babcock said that he hired Pry at the time to get back to Beamer's philosophy, which I think is very interesting. Beamer's philosophy of recruiting in-state prospects after they wanted to get away from Beamer's philosophy after Justin Fuente had the first 2 successful seasons with Coach Beamer's players. By the way, only 3 players, Paul, going back to your message, only 3 of the Hokies starting 22 players in the Vanderbilt game were from Virginia. All right, so you're correct. Just 6 of those were high school players that were recruited by Pry. Just 6. 1-12 in games decided by 1 possession. And still no Power 4 non-conference wins since 2017. 15 straight losses. And that's not just Brent Pry's record. That's Whit Babcock's record, too. But what will happen next? Slowly but surely, you'll have Philip Montgomery get his team ready. Wofford should be a layup. They've played 3 games. They've lost all 3 games. They haven't played an FBS team. I think they've lost the 3 games by a total of 6 points. I think they lost to Mercer over the weekend by 1. Richmond beat them, I think, by a field goal. What I'm going to be interested in is to see what the crowd looks like on Saturday. It's going to be very interesting. But Fuente never related to the fan base in Blacksburg. Not one time. He's made out okay since he left here. Right. That's right, Paul. Statement that Whit made. We did not get players from the Virginia footprint. Right. Not good players. Not the players that you needed. Not the players Tech was getting after the Michael Vick era, when it was just rolling. And Brian Steinspring had a heck of a lot to do with that. A heck of a lot to do with that. They have not had the recruiting in place. They haven't had – I don't think they've had folks in place who understood the balance going into the next era of what was coming. And I don't think anybody could have been prepared for the way it shaped up completely, even the schools that have the money and the financial means. But Tech never seemed like they adjusted in any way, shape, or form toward the tail end of the Fuente era and throughout Pry's era. So we'll see what it is going forward, what the timing may be. Okay, Sherry says that the crowd may be better on Saturday because it is core weekend. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that will be good then. That'll be great. They need to be celebrated. It's good to know. So that'll be a good thing. And Tech should get their first win of the year. Now, everybody's asking about Philip Montgomery. I mean, I don't think you're going to see the offense change a whole lot. I think he'll still be running it. I'm sure he'll be the guy meeting the media this week. Tomorrow, they'll have their press conference tomorrow that we're used to seeing Brent Pry, and it's going to be him. It's going to be Phil Montgomery. People are asking, do I think we're going to see Whit Babcock? I don't know if they're going to parade him out there. I think it's pretty clear that he's not in the future plans. Just by the way the statement came out yesterday, and quickly they followed up with, by the way, it's going to be a committee. He's not going to touch it. Again, it made sense because an AD that has failed in his 2 head coaching hires at the most important sport was not going to get a chance to be involved at the third one. It's just not. And we've said that all along. We've said that all along. But I never thought I'd see the day where a team, and again, it sounds like you're putting down Old Dominion, but you're not. They're in the Sun Belt. And I don't want to sound that way. They were the better team. Ricky Ronnie had that team prepared. They came up here lights out. They had a lot of players from the state that were lower too, but they came up here knowing they were the better team. But to see Virginia Tech look that inferior to Old Dominion, the handwriting was on the wall. Maybe we should have seen it. I mean, I guess we did. The second half of the Vanderbilt game. Then Vanderbilt goes down and beats South Carolina, and Lenore Sellers is going to be done for a while. So not a good night for Jen. But yeah, the quarterback looked better. And again, Kyron Drones, he's just not that guy. Offensive line is it seems worse now. I know they had some players banged up Saturday, but they weren't playing well in the first two games either. Linebackers, you name it. It just seemed like anything they wanted to do. And teams now have just seen it. You spread the field against what's going on with Sam Cevic's defense, and you're going to be able to move the football. And look how Old Dominion shifted. After the first series, they started to do all those things. I don't know who the analyst was, but he pointed it out. Said, hey, you must have watched that Vanderbilt second half. That's what Vanderbilt did. And then boom, 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 boom. Here come the points. And Tech never adjusted. It looked like Virginia Tech, how they had played with their other coordinators. The inexperienced coordinators, didn't it? I'm blown away by how the defense has regressed, too, in 2 weeks. Because after the adjustments against South Carolina, I thought, okay, well, Sam Cevicus gets it. He's been in the NFL. He really shut him down after that first drive. And then it's just, where's it gone the last two games? Wow. So the problem is bigger than Brent Pry. Clearly. This is an organizational issue. When you see something this vast that's going on, it's not just one guy. It's the entire picture of what's going on over at Jamerson. And everybody knows it. The board knows it. Tim Sands knows it. The big money donors, the influencers, they all know. The whole thing's going to have to be torn down. And I was talking to people, Wayne, you were one. Yeah, we were talking about the philosophy going into that game, and it was, well, you got to establish the running game. You haven't done that in the first two contests. Let's go run the football. First 6 plays, they threw the football. They went 3 and out the first series because they were throwing the football. A defense that was allowing 225 yards on the ground through its first 2 games. Let's just throw the football. And that was Philip Montgomery, who's the new interim head coach. But I think what this does do is give an opportunity for you, the fans who care, the donors, people who want this program, your alums, to get back to where it was. It gives you an opportunity, I think, to have more influence than you've had in a long time. And I think the new athletic director that will eventually come in will embrace that. I don't think you're going to have this feeling of just separatism that seems like it's been prevailing over there for quite a while. And I hear it from you, the fans, since we started this show back up a month ago here on YouTube. You've all said the same thing, that you never felt like you were a part of, or many of you have. You've been told that what you do contribute isn't enough, or you're not considered a certain level. You kind of an afterthought. John, where they go from here is they have to figure out what they're going to do for their next AD, and then they're going to have to figure out how the committee is going to look. It's got to go step by step. I know everybody's asking me about names, and I don't think we're even at that point to where it's even a consideration, to be honest. Right? I just don't see it. JMU and Liberty had one strict vision, to cite your examples, John, and it was all about football. Liberty kept shuffling around leagues. They wanted to get into a power league. It didn't happen, but now they're making the most, and they're still progressing. If you go down to Lynchburg, their facilities are amongst the best in the nation, not just at their level. James Madison's doing the same thing under Matt Rohn. Look at JMU. You watch JMU play Louisville. Now, I don't like the 2 quarterback system. The whole philosophy there is not going to work. That's just not going to work. But you saw their athletes. They had Louisville on the ropes. So the vision has to start all over again with new people that will relate to this wonderful fan base, these wonderful supporters. Again, this is not on you. And I said this a couple weeks ago, repeated it last week. And I think whenever you see the finger pointing, when people start pointing fingers, And when people start saying all these things off the cuff, and a lot of it was directed at you, Tech fans who have been so loyal and so supportive through all this, through the last, 8 years without a winning program, you haven't gone away. The alumni, the players who built the program haven't gone away. They've wanted to be a huge part of this. Justin Fuente would have none of it. Brent Pry endorsed it. They started to eventually come back. I don't necessarily believe that the new coach, Paul says, and they can't make money, ? He's talking about which statement? I spent $38 on 2 beers and a water. Really? Really, Paul? Absolutely ridiculous amount. $38. Wow. You're going to need more than 2 after that. Anyway. By the way, do you like the chat down here? Do you like that? Do y'all like seeing that? Can you see it, or you want me to get it off there? I'll do whatever you want. Let me know in the chat room or on the text line. Let me know. Just let me know. Anyway, as I was saying, when you start pointing fingers and all these things, you're trying to take the blame off of yourselves because you know there's a deeper problem. So then you started blaming the fans, saying they're not giving enough, they're not showing up, blah, blah, blah. And you don't blame the customer. It's what Hollywood is doing now because they are failing for every reason other than the customer. When you start pointing fingers and blaming the people that you're counting on to help you build back up, it is a strategy that's going to fail 10 out of 10 times. 10 out of 10 times. I watch the games. I talk to people on my old radio show, and now I've talked to you. All right, peeps are liking the chat on the screen. All right, we'll leave it right there then. Thank you. Thanks for your feedback. We appreciate that. $38. Yeah, everybody's reacting to Paul's comment. Jermaine Ferrell scheduled to join us. Obviously, we'll get his take on all this. Damien Sordelett and Dwight Vick today. And thanks to our sponsors who have made this program possible. And thanks to everybody. Again, over 200,000 BDST Facebook post interactions yesterday. I made 3 posts. 200,000. It was shared by like 3,000 people. So we're getting there, and it's thanks to you. We rose our subscription base up considerably. You came out and you stayed with us till midnight on the live stream after the game on Saturday. Yes, I will be doing that again at some point. That was fun. But thank you. Tell your friends, subscribe. It's free. Let's show them we can build this starting here into whatever we want this to be. This is your show. You're the reason I came back to do this. And I appreciate everybody who reached out yesterday, Saturday. You're not bothering me, by the way, if I don't get to you on the text line. You're not bothering me at all. So don't think you are. I like to hear from you. I value what you're telling me. It gives me a nice feel for how the vibe's going. So you're never bothering me. You'll never bother me by sending me stuff. I mean, I want to hear from you. Any opinion, unlike the theme of the world now, who apparently they want to react with violence when they disagree with opinion. I love having you here and getting your opinion. Sad VT fan. Drones isn't a good quarterback or leader. No lies detected. He looked like a defeated guy. And I'll say this about him. He was playing hard, even though that game was lost. He was trying to play hard, I think. David says Rodney Young would be a cheaper date. I can't get over Paul. $38. That's unbelievable. But yet they're not making any money. Where's the money going to come from? Just trying to parlay a lot of these questions I got asked. It's going to come from what WIT did from the board. They'll get some help now from the school. And the next TV deal, what's it going to look like? I don't know. I don't know what the league is going to look like. Because I believe that the two big boys are going to make one more push to add more brands. I know it's more mouths to feed, but it's going to go right directly into what I think is going to be the final gigantic television contracts, and that'll be the last that you see a realignment for a long time. But I believe you're going to see a complete upheaval in the ACC at some point because of that. But Tech has willing donors. Tech has, and maybe this reunites. That's what the new AD that eventually is going to come in is going to have to play upon. You're going to have to find that, if it's sympathy, if it's empathy, whatever it might be, you're going to be able to play upon that, be honest about it, and show these people how much you appreciate them for sticking with it. I'm blown away by Tech fans and how supportive you are. And I don't know how much you give. I don't care. I guarantee you give what you can, especially if you're an alum. So it's not on you. It's not your fault. It's none of your fault. And I just get so tired of that. Be different if, before season started and we heard all this stuff about season tickets being down, or first game of the year, it's half full for no reason. Paul says, I would put a photo in chat, 4096 with a tip, cannot make it up. But no, Tech fan was there. They were in full throat against Vanderbilt. They showed up against ODU. There were some empty seats, but they were there. This isn't on you. And I think that the whole thing is going to have to be a process. They have to figure it out. And maybe this whole committee is also going to be in charge of, forget about the new head coach and how that's going to look, but let's construct how this athletic department and the new approach is going to be. It's going to have to be a different marketing campaign. First step they had to do, the one thing Whit Babcock did do well, I think, the presentation for the board. Yeah, John, it was something I didn't agree with, with that they played Woodson after his second DUI. He got in that game. They wasn't really the kind of adequate punishment you thought. Maybe that was a sign of the cracks of leadership on this year's team. I don't know. People have asked me about what I think the record's going to be. I don't know. They're going to win Saturday. And then you go on the road at NC State and you start getting into the big boy games again. I'm telling you this, Georgia Tech is an absolute beast. You better watch out for Georgia Tech. It's a good football team. I saw Wake Forest and NC State be better. We know what Miami and Florida State have looked like. So I don't know. I don't know how the team's going to respond. Are they going to rally together now? What's that locker room made of? But I go back to the very wise Mike Burnham, and this was last Tuesday. He'll be with us tomorrow. And I pointed out the comment at the time. You remember when Mike said, everybody wants to blame the coaches, and that's where naturally it falls. Then he said, but how about these players that are content with just collecting their checks every month? Something along those lines. Correct. These are now employees. You can't look at this like we used to. And I believe it's happening all over the country. And this is something that I've talked about. I talked about it on the old radio show. I talked about it here. It's inevitable to happen. There's going to be a certain core of guys on every football team, basketball team, whoever has enough NIL. There's going to be certain guys who are going to be just content with going to that school, getting their big payout now, because there aren't official contracts. There aren't pay for performance based contracts. Like, you don't have to have a certain win-loss record to receive your check. They don't have incentive clauses. And if you don't think Mike Burnup after 2 weeks picked up on that, being around the program, then that's a big problem. And that's where it becomes difficult. This goes back, was it Matthew earlier talked about the evaluation of the players. It's part of that. Sit down, have interviews, find out who you can afford to bring in. How are they going to be when they get here to start making X amount of dollars? Maybe those evaluations were rushed, and this is what I really think. And again, it's not an excuse, but it feels like the evaluations of certain players they brought in may have been rushed because Brent Pry knew this was the drop dead year for his program if they didn't win. So maybe you're just like, okay, good. We're losing this guy. Let's go get him. Let's maybe just a theory I'm throwing out there. Because you're going to be told everything you want to hear when you know you're getting paid, right? These guys are going to say, oh, yeah, coach, I'm coming to Virginia Tech because I want to help build. I want to get your program back on the right track. And I'm using Tech as the example because obviously that's the school we're talking about. But you throw in any school there, yeah, we're going to get this done. Let's go. And then they get here. Wow, look at this monthly. Look what I've got. So you have to evaluate it from that standpoint, but you have to have the kind of the culture. There's that word again, the culture around your program to where guys aren't just going to come in. And eventually you're going to have it to where the money is going to be flowing through. This is what the SEC and the Big Ten have going for it, because every kid who goes to those schools knows there's plenty of money to go around. They know that it's around everywhere. Not so much at Virginia Tech right now. Portal, when coaches are fired like this, players can go into the portal right now since they didn't play 4 games. Yeah, eventually it's just now in January. Correct. You are correct. But now players have a 30-day window to go in the portal right now. UCLA fired Deshaun Foster yesterday as well, their head coach, and they've already lost their top 4 or 5 high school recruits. They're gone. They're done. So Tech's going to have players. You're going to see it here. They're going to go into the portal. I think that should be the least of your concerns right now. If you're a Tech fan, what you need to see is how this committee's formed, who's on it, and what kind of philosophy they're going to bring forth, and then what's going to happen next at the athletic director's position. It has to be step by step. So everybody who's throwing questions at me about the coaches, who's going to be, I don't know, because I don't think they have people in place to hire the next coach yet. They obviously don't. It's not going to be the AD. That committee's got to be formed, and then you'll start surveying the whole environment around it. But that new head coach is going to probably be in more power than they've ever been before to come to Blacksburg. Do you try to get some guy who was a veteran head coach that could come in, a name? I don't know. Everybody throws out Dan Mullen, who's gone to UNLV, and immediately they're much better. He was great on TV. Sure, he'd be a fine choice for maybe 3 years or so. But again, it's fun for fans. It's fun fodder on shows like this to talk about, but we're not there yet. After what's going on and what has gone on, you can't go to the next step. This next step coming up with the AD position and with what is going on with the committee is the most important decision they can make. That has to be done correctly and get that flow going, finalize the house cleaning, and then you start to say, okay, now we've got it in place, led by our new athletic director. We're going to start the national search and do this thing right. And maybe by then the board's made a decision. Maybe this helps the board make that decision. Maybe it does in terms of the money. Maybe you get more money. Maybe now there's more empathy with what's going on. You think they're not hearing about it from angry donors and people that they've known for years, people on the board, people around Blacksburg, when they see the program get embarrassed, run out of their own stadium by Old Dominion? How many times have we heard the football program is the leading source for Virginia Tech getting toward 40,000 students enrollment, record enrollment every year, and we hear it from the university, not from people in athletics, how much the football program has fed into that. The success of it, the exposure, generations of kids whose parents went to Tech to come and do Sandman and jump up and down. All those things are tied around, a lot of it anyway, around the success of football. It's going to affect business. That's right, Wayne. Yeah, exactly. You can't rush this next decision. You can't start jumping to a decision that's 2 or 3 decisions down the road. Now, people have asked, and I speculated yesterday with a lot of people, because when I was told early in the morning by my source that Brent Pry had been notified, I had people thinking that maybe they wouldn't do that because of the whole portal window, Paul, that you mentioned. I don't think you can worry about that. It had to go this way for now because you did have somebody on staff, and it does make me wonder if when Brent Pry made these hires, maybe he was pushed to find a guy who had been a head coach. So it makes perfect sense. This is what I speculated Saturday night on the live stream. It made perfect sense that they went with Philip Montgomery. It's what I thought would happen. I know Dwight had hoped it would be JC, and I don't know if he even wanted to do it at this point. He did a great job a few years ago. That was a special moment for him. But the way I look at this right now is you've got to get through this season. Again, this is part of the next step. You still have 9 games. You still have your whole conference schedule. And the guys who are here, regardless of whatever their mindset may be or their motivations, you have to get somebody there to lead them through the season. Now, after one more game, when you play 4 games, there's no longer an opportunity to salvage your red shirt. So that's why you will see guys, Paul, jump in this week. Yes. Also, he says, I hope they don't announce a new coach until December, January. Yes, after they state what they're going to what's going to happen with the AD, I agree. Season just started. Correct. There's not going to be a sitting head coach who's 3 games into their season who's going to be thinking about the Virginia Tech job. And no, you don't want Jimbo Fisher. I keep hearing that name. Why? Why would you want that? And how motivated he's going to be. He's gotten, double-digit $1 million since he got fired from Texas A&M. Why would you want that if you're here in Blacksburg? Why would you want that? You don't. You don't. But maybe the philosophy around the new head coach has to be shared about what the new AD should look like. Now, I'm friends with Matt Roan. He's a Pulaski County guy like me. He's going to be on this show every month. And I know it looks like I'm trying to endorse him because of that. No, I'm not. I just know that he would be absolutely perfect for this AD job when it becomes open if he would want. And if Tech doesn't reach out and understand what the philosophy he has going forward, you talk about a guy who's going to relate with donors and fans and students like he's doing at JMU. But again, this isn't a decision that I'm going to have any part of, and who knows what that committee is going to look like going forward. Wayne says the only benefit to hiring Jimbo is Rick doing the impersonation every day. Hey, everybody. I'm so happy to be here in Blacksburg. Thank y'all for giving me another shot. Appreciate that. I could have Jimbo Fisher on and interview him as Jimbo Fisher. That's right, Rick. By the way, I ever tell you how much I like your voice? Remember when Jimbo Fisher got to Texas A&M and they had the highest NIL budget at that time, and he said they didn't have enough money to spend, or that they weren't spending money? Now, you don't want that guy. Ryan Pry, the attorney, says, I think you need an innovative offensive coach. Most of the turnarounds lately would have been with that style. And the name I heard yesterday is Ben Arbuckle, the OU offensive coordinator. Yeah, I mean, coordinators are going to be very attracted to any head coaching job in the Power Four. Tech has gone that route before with their last hire. So sure, absolutely. There's going to be a lot of assistants that are going to chomping at the bit to be part of a Power Four program as its head coach. Right? Do I know if they'll be a good fit? No, I can't say that they'll be a good fit. Can't say that. But there's going to be a lot of names, and this is going to be a very highly coveted job, by the way. Don't let anybody tell you that it's not. All right. We want to thank Family Fencing, by the way. Thank them so much with their no-dig installation system, sponsor of our studios. Jason and Company, locally owned, finance options available. Get a free quote today, 540-200-8294. I want to thank Larry Ramsey, everybody at National Bank. They are the absolute best. Been banking with them for 35 years, the exclusive banking partner of BDST. Also, we want to thank Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment Experience, Pulaski County. They are the presenting sponsor of this program. And boy, coming up very soon, we're going to be highlighting many of those folks here on the show, letting you know what is going on with all the folks there at Pulaski County. So we thank them. Thanks to Travis Williams, everybody at Professional Door. Again, 38 years in business, locally owned and operated, Route 100 there in Dublin, residential and commercial. Thanks to all of them as well. They're the best at what they do. All these folks are. And I'm very honored that they're part of the program as the sponsors. And speaking of Ryan Pry, the attorney, how do you guys want the question to look this week? The BDST fan question of the week. Let me know. Do you want to speculate about a head coach? And that's what we'll do. I'll tell you what. I'll take the bull by the horns here, Ryan. This week's Ryan Pry, attorney in Radford, PryLawOffice.com, is going to be who's the next head coach at Virginia Tech. Hit me up on the Professional Door chat room. Okay? Hit me up there. And go see all the folks at Little River Heating and Air, Charles Lee and Company. It's heating time here soon. Heating time here very soon. Hit me up on the McClellan Chiropractic chat room. A lot of stuff going on. Damien Sordelet's going to join us coming up along with Dwight Vick in hour number 3. So Saturday night we went on live and we speculated this was going to happen, and it did. And nobody wanted to get to this point, but it is the reality of it. And we'll see how much transparency is given over there going forward, how much transparency is going to be given going forward with this whole search and with everything else that's going on. And I don't know what it's going to look like, but now you're going to have a press conference tomorrow. There'll be a lot of questions surrounding all this that's going on. And there's going to be a lot of things that people are going to be, asking tomorrow how much the structure is going to change. I don't think offensively it's going to change in any way, shape, or form. How Philip Montgomery's going to be able to go about now being the coach for the last 9 games of the season. so forth. So all these things come into play, every one of them, every one of them. And my big thing here for the rest of the year is how much pride does the current roster have? How many names go into the portal this week? We'll see. Well, they got 30 days. It won't just be this week. They've got 30 days. How do they come out against Wofford? What's the crowd? I mean, the rest of the season is going to be very interesting, and how Tech handles going about the rest of the season. I mean, you make this decision early, and you still got it's crazy. They may have their running back now going forward. Maybe they found that, and I don't know what kind of record it's going to be. I mean, I don't know what you can honestly think. How the key is going to be against Wofford, a team that they obviously know they should be. How do they come out now? Do they take any of the responsibility of the players for what has happened? Are they upset that their head coach is no longer there? Do they play with a sense of urgency now that they didn't show in any way, shape, or form on Saturday night? And that's what Dwight kept pointing out after the line streak. Thank you so much, Rodney. That was fun. Yeah, we'll do more of that. We will. We will do more than that. We'll do more post-game live streams. That went very well, and I really appreciate that. That thing's over 1,100 views. Crazy. And I promised everybody if Armageddon, and we did say it was Armageddon of the football program, and it was when that loss happened, that we would go live. And what was great, many of you were reminding me what I had said. Many of you were contacting me. Hey, you're still going to go live, right? So I was like, yeah, we're going to go live. I said I would. And then, Neil jumped on there. Neil, by the way, was playing, I think he was playing piano at a lounge in Roanoke. He had on like a black turtleneck. He looked like one of the Blue Man crew without his makeup. And then we had Dwight on, and it helped him. He told me yesterday how much it helped him. And he spent all day yesterday talking to former players about where this thing's going to go. Many of you have asked when I got the news. I got the news yesterday morning. Early. I shared it with a couple of people from a source that's been very reliable, who then told me that in about 2 weeks, more than likely, you're going to hear an announcement about the athletic director's position. So I believe that's going to be your time frame. Just passing along what I am told. Okay? Just passing along what I was told. Thanks, Rodney. Great article in the paper. Yeah, it was kind of foreshadowing, I guess, now, huh? About the second half against Vanderbilt. The gleam is gone. It can happen again. And this is the thing that very true, Wayne. Very true. No, you're a beneficiary, Wayne. This program deserves, and it will bounce back. I know it doesn't feel like it. It will bounce back. There's too much relying on this not to bounce back. Too much in the community is out there and needs this program to be successful. There's going to be people to get behind it. I think they know the next decision. And who knows what's going on behind the scenes. I don't know how the presidential structure is going to look over there. I don't know how maybe this is going to be a complete look in the mirror time for this program to see how far it has gone astray. And again, who's been the leader of that department for this football program to go astray? That's why those of you that are worried no announcement was made yesterday in conjunction with the head coach, just wait. Okay? Just wait. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen. But I think this program can bounce back. And I do believe that it will, because I think the fan base is too hungry for it not to. I think the fan base is too rabid about this program for it to not bounce back. You're a big part of it. If the fans don't care, then programs won't bounce back. But look at all these other places across the country that are finally starting to gain traction again. Went through the same thing. Here's your encouragement, Tech fan. Look at some of the big programs in the country that have struggled to get back to their prominence, that are now starting to creep back. And a large part of it is because of their donor base and fan base that never went away. Reggie says, looking back at the big trip to Claytor Lake they promoted, could have been an indicator that they knew there was no culture. 100%. 100%. Now, there can be good faith things. Yes, you're right. But when they went out of their way to show that, there was some feeling in that department that maybe Nebraska. You and I growing up, Nebraska was an absolute powerhouse, right? You didn't care about anything else. You knew Nebraska was going to be part of the national title consideration. Notre Dame, Alabama. I'm naming holy grails of the sport right now, right? Florida State, Miami, Clemson. Am I saying Virginia Tech's one of those? No. But what I'm saying is they've all went through their down periods. Oklahoma, they're hoping Brent Venables. They looked the part this year, but look how long it's taken. But you know what they never lost? The spirit and drive and passion of you, the fan. Because that program matters to those communities. The SEC is not based, for the most part, in large cities. It's towns like Blacksburg are very similar, where pride about your college football team or university matters. And they bounce back. They're not giving up. They're not throwing all that out the window. Everybody goes through ebbs and flows. Boy, Tech is going through it now. It's gone on for far too long. Maybe this is the evaluation period, the reality of it they needed when they had to fire a second head coach. When you're doing that, you don't have the right culture in leadership in place. But Tech has, I believe, a very similar fan passion to all these other places I mentioned. I'm not going to sit there and go through them one by one. Alabama's got their mafia. They were doing the NIL for years and years and years, a la blue chips before we had NIL. Many of these schools across the country were doing it. That's why they've been able to segue what they were doing for so long that everybody knew that basically everyone's been doing. But the program means a lot to a lot of people, is what I'm saying. Donors, students, business folks. That's why I believe it will come back. But this next series of hires have to be right. Wayne said it earlier. Many of you said you can't just rush into it and start thinking about the new head coach. You have to make your decision about the AD. Get the timetable structured, the people motivated for the right things, and then you have to do that. All these things have to go in steps, and you can't rush the next step with a bunch of speculation before you get the other step. There he is. Join us now in the program. The sports director of WFXR, Jermaine Ferrell. Jermaine, good morning. I hope you're well.
I overslept. I ain't gonna lie.
That's okay. That's okay. Good to have you. All right, just your reaction, man. I guess after what we witnessed Saturday, not a real surprise. Of course, yesterday, you're the head coach of Virginia Tech.
Well, I mean, it's really a tough deal all around the board when you have a there was so much enthusiasm, excitement, Coach Pry coming in, but at the end of the day, it's a results business, and you gotta prove it on the field, and obviously, I think the last couple of games, when you give up 62 straight points in between the first half and this game here, I mean, it's just tough, and I think everybody wanted Coach Pry to succeed, but in the end of the day, it just didn't happen. And now Tech will have to look for another coach. And obviously, they're putting together a committee to do that. There'll be input, but at the end of the day, it's going to be this committee say. And I think what's going to have to help Tech, I think the biggest thing is if you're looking for a coach, they need to get a coach who has, experience, and I mean head coaching experience. And I would even say head coaching experience at the Power 4 level, because the last two hires, and those are the things we're going to have to do if they want to get up there. And I know they're talking about raising money and doing all this other stuff, but I think at the end of the day, you need to get veteran coaches that have been through the fire and been through the flame and been through everything else. So that's something that'll definitely help them.
Well, and you said it right. I mean, nobody wanted this to be the result, but Philip McGee promoted. He'll be there at the presser tomorrow. It makes sense. He was a former head coach, which is such an amazing thing to say, that you had to make this move now was still the bulk of the season ahead, including the entire ACC schedule.
And I think if you do it now, that gives you an opportunity to get ahead of things. I mean, you can, like I said, they're putting a committee together. They're talking about fundraising. Now, here's the deal. I mean, if you're going to get certain coaches, if you're going to go for certain coaches, they were paying, Coach Pry, I mean, close to $5 million. So to get like a big time coach, I mean, you're going to pay Coach Pry his buyout, but then you're going to also come up with some more money. So that's probably part of it, why they're trying to get the fundraising going and get everything going to where they're ready to make a move on a coach. There's money there for them to do it, but it's going to take more than what they've been paying their coaches, and that's going to be really a big thing. But that's something that they have to look at and something that they'll do. But yeah, it's such a tough day. I mean, because when something like this happens, this impacts families. I mean, you're talking about the impact of Coach Pry's family, everyone around, and then you have families with the coaching staff, the uncertainty of their jobs. So it's a decision that you don't enter in lightly. I mean, you don't just go in there and say, hey, we're going to get rid of a coach, and here you go. This is something that is so sensitive and important. So, I thought Coach Pry around, and when you have this happen, it's just tough. I mean, because now there's a lot of uncertainty, and again, you're going to go, in the span of a decade, Rick, this is going to be Virginia Tech's third head football coach, which, when we started at WFXR in 2015, it was the last year of Coach Beamer. And then after that, they hired Joseph Fuente, and there's a lot of energy, and everybody thought he would do a great job, and there was going to be so much fun with it. And then he started off great, but then he tailed off a little bit. And then, you bring in Coach Pry, and, just didn't have the same there. And that was just such a tough thing right there, because you wanted him to do so well. You wanted him to win, and you wanted him to bring back. And there were flashes of what Tech could have been. It just wasn't continuous. And, it's just so tough. And then, like I said before, I mean, all the players that they lost to the portal, because obviously you have to pay players, you have to do all these things. So really, it's tough. And, this is, like I said, this is a results business. And it doesn't matter what you're doing in life, whether it's a TV broadcasting or college administration. If you are not producing and you're not having success years, guess what's going to happen?
Yeah.
This is going to happen. So
Yeah.
he was on the hot seat at the beginning of the year, and it doesn't help to lose the 3 games he did off the top, the way they lost.
Jermaine Ferrell joining us from WFXR, and it's a messy situation that's been created because of this committee announcement. President Sands was the only one who spoke in the. We were immediately told Whit Bacot will have nothing to do with this hire. It seems like it's just a matter of time. That seems to have to be the next thing that happens. It's just an odd transition right now, but a lot of people have been asking me about new head coaches, and I'm like, you better just get this next step right first, right, before you start worrying about reaching out to this person and that person, because they don't have the people in place who are going to make any decision on a future head coach.
And they got to put that together. But, I mean, there is time. If there's a coach that's, sitting around and not doing something. But like I said before, there's a lot of candidates, and they will not lack for candidates. But again, I think they're going to want to hire a coach that has head coaching experience at this level. Now, if you say that, then who are the coaches? There's a bunch of coaches that have been head coaches that they're out there sitting. So I'm sure they're getting calls already. Like once this happened, the calls were coming in. The calls were like, oh yeah, okay, I'm interested in the job. And I think with this committee or whatever they're doing to put it together, I mean, it's like, okay, this is what marks for being a head coach. These are the things that we're looking for to be Virginia Tech's next head football coach. And like I said, if I had my list, if you want the Jermaine Ferrell list, I think you have to hire someone with head coaching experience, in my opinion. Now, could you go down to the group of 5 level and grab a coach? Maybe, but it just depends on who the coach is. Because you can't just grab a group of 5 coach and roll with it. It has to be a coach that's had some success, and you feel like that success could transfer over to this level of football. And if you feel like that's not the coach, then you got to look. Obviously, there's retreads out there. So that's what you want, and then hire a staff that's going to have experience. That's going to be like, hey, look, this is what we got. So it's going to take those things, and again, it's all about the experience. It's all about first-time coaches. If you're a first-time coach, and this doesn't matter who the coach is, I always felt you should hire coaches around you that either have head coaching experience and they can help you in certain situations. Like Coach Sherrard over there at Liberty for Liberty Women's Basketball. He promoted up from assistant coach to head coach with the women's basketball program, but he has coaches that have head coaching experience, because it's a whole different ball game when you're the assistant and you move one chair over or one office over, because that is a whole different world. Because when you're an assistant coach, you are asked to coach a position or coach whatever. But
yeah,
you got to make decisions. You're the CEO. You're the CEO of a program or whatever else, and it's a whole different ballgame. I mean, we even talk about it. I talked about it to the coaches on the Hardy's Friday Night Blitz that were first-time head coaches.
Yeah.
They're like, there's certain things I didn't realize until you realize it. And I think if there's not a training, for some, there's not really a training program. There's not a preparation program on how to be a head coach. It's just not there. So these are the things that they have to learn, and these are the things they have to handle. They're doing rapid fire. They're doing all this stuff before the end of the month when they go to the board of visitors and they say, hey, this is what we got to do. And here's the money and here's everything else. So, but can you accumulate that much cash that quick unless you know some big time donors. But
I know.
It's going to be interesting, Rick. It'll be an interesting next couple of weeks, and then by the end of the season, we'll know where we are. But there's one big thing I've realized: I'm not going to make any Christmas plans yet because that's in December. If you remember, it seems like it's been every December they've announced who the coach is going to be. So I would figure it might be sometime around December. If it's sooner, it'd be interesting. I mean, you want to get if you know who your guys are, you already know what's going on.
Well, Jermaine, I will talk to you later in the week for the 4th and Goal show. Thanks for jumping on, brother. And you're going to have a busy week, I think.
Well,
you're going to have a busy week.
Well, I tell you, my apologies. I woke up at 7:15. I said, okay, I overslept. I'm going to hop on.
That's all right.
It's we had a lot of anniversary celebrations.
That's exactly right. I understand.
Celebrate 10 years of greatness and wedded bliss. It was a great anniversary weekend, and again, I love my wife, and I'm so happy to be married to her. So, again, happy anniversary again to my wife, Yolanda Farrell, beautiful woman as always. So, I thank her for everything.
All right, brother. Thanks a lot, man. And I'll talk to you a couple of days. That program, appreciate him as always, and for joining us. Hey, a little Jermaine's better than no Jermaine. And joining us now early, and we appreciate it. I felt like one of the people we had to have on today is the guy who covers the program closely as anybody in media, Damien Sordelett, the Virginia Tech football beat writer from the Roanoke Times. Damien, thanks for coming on, man. And we're surprised other announcements were made. But first of all, just your take on when you heard the news about Brent Pry.
Writing was on the wall. Let's just say that I spent the second half of Saturday's game writing that story for when the announcement came. Like you could see, it just wasn't working. And I wrote this in my game story, which I know Roanoke Times readers are like, man, we're just getting it in the Monday morning paper, but this was online Sunday morning. But I wrote that the boos that Pry heard at halftime weren't just solely for the last 4 quarters.
Right.
Excited going into 2024. You showed improvement on the field in 23. You retained your players. Okay, we're in a good spot. And then you're 5-3, 3-1 in the ACC going into November, and then you can't hold a lead against Syracuse. Offense couldn't do much of anything against Clemson because you decided to put Kyron Drones out there on with a bad foot, and Bashal Tootin was out there. He wasn't right. You look bad against Duke in the first half, and you make it a game in the second half. You beat UVA, and then you lose to Minnesota, and then you open this year with three losses. I mean, Tech went 1-7 and probably kind of harkened back to 2022 when they lost 7 straight, and then beat Liberty at the end of the year. I can tell you the team didn't quit on him. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, they quit. I've seen a team quit on a coach. And I covered Liberty in 2022. The week after Tech beat Liberty players are getting on the team bus to go to the stadium when Pete Thamel comes on College Game Day and says Hugh Freeze is in talks with Auburn. And Hugh Freeze had told his players repeatedly and told us in the media, I will always make sure the players know if I am interviewing somewhere else. And if there's a chance I could go somewhere else, they're going to be the first to know. They weren't the first to know. And what happened was they quit on him in that entire game. And I know like that might have springboarded the legend of Diego Pavia because he went off in that game. And that was his first year at New Mexico State. And I know Hugh Freeze hasn't wanted to see him since because Hugh Freeze has never beaten Diego Pavia. But like they quit. They were out there. I was down there on the field before the end of the game, and they were chirping at him. Players were chirping at him, saying, you were paying more attention to getting ready for Auburn than getting us prepared to play UConn and Virginia Tech. They quit on him. I didn't see that out of Virginia Tech. I didn't see that out of the players. So I'll say this: they didn't quit on Pry. So just everyone who brings that up, the players didn't quit on Pry. It's just for some reason or another, he just didn't have what magic sauce they had for South Carolina and how they played. He just, for some reason or another, couldn't replicate it.
Damien Sordelett joining us, the Virginia Tech beat writer from the Roanoke Times. And to your point, knowing that, you kind of get that vibe, the bad, if you will, evaluations that were made on the roster, because Old Dominion looked like they had better players, all over the field, quarterback being one, offensive line was much better. I mean, they were getting blown off. He put in the backups in the second half, and, to their credit, they were trying to develop some young guys, trying to send a message, but they never looked the part, did they, under Brent Pry? I guess that's the biggest thing I come away from all this. In 40 games as the head coach, they never looked the part, other than the Miami game last year. They kind of, okay, maybe this is where it's headed.
Yeah, and that goes back to hires. I mean, you can't hire two first-time coordinators. That really – you're getting yourself on the wrong foot when you're having to train these guys while you're also learning how to be a head coach for the first time. Then, I mean, Joe Rudolph 1 year as O-line coach, then he bolts. And you hire Ron Crook. And this is where Pry mentioned this Saturday night is the one area that they really had struggled in terms of development and recruiting was offensive line. Really bad hand on this year. And what I mean by that is if you look at Virginia Tech's previous recruiting cycles, they signed 5 offensive linemen from high school over those 2 years. And then from the transfer portal, Ron Crook identified, I think it was 2 guys that he kid from Gardner Webb who never got into the 2 deep. And then Montavious Cunningham, who didn't play under Crook, and he's starting under Matt Moore.
Yeah.
So, and Matt Moore has, I mean, right now recruiting's fluid because with Pry leaving, everyone's going to say, "Oh, my recruitment's open." So far,
That's right.
I haven't seen anyone say, "Oh, we're decommitted." Everyone's saying, "Oh, my recruitment's back open." So Matt Moore had 4 kids committed for the offensive line, very high prospects, might add you. So he was getting into recruiting and going to rebuild that offensive line. And the offensive struggles can be linked to the fact that you're playing a true freshman and 3 redshirt freshmen for most of that game Saturday. Like, a lot of these guys are getting baptized to fire. And Tommy Ricard's playing out of position at right guard when he is a center. So, like, they're going to have to get guys ready. You're going to have to get guys healthy in order for this offensive line to get going. Because, if you can get going on the offensive line and the offense can actually finish some drives with touchdowns early, you're going to keep yourself in games. And that's where, the fact that Old Dominion, once Virginia Tech got its chance there in the first half, and that's when Old Dominion sends blood in the water. It's like, okay, Virginia Tech just turned the ball over. Let's get this momentum. They go down, score, 97-yard drive, I think in like 5 plays. And then after that, it's just like one wave after another, and the offense never found its footing until the fourth quarter.
Well, the situation is there now. People keep asking about who the next coach is going to be. Well, they don't have things in place to even think about that right now. The statement was a little strange just in terms it all came from President Sands. No comment from Whit Babcock other than the committee. Hey, he's not going to be part of the hiring. It seems like it's a matter of time, right? I think the speculation's been out there that they didn't make the call yesterday, but I'm guessing in a couple of weeks the board's supposed to convene, that Whit will probably be given the option of retiring. What's your take on where this leaves Whit Babcock? Because I think that's the next step that has to be taken care of before you can start even worrying about throwing out names.
It's a pretty precarious situation for him because you don't want to be an athletic director and you're the one who makes the final decisions on these types of things. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're going to put together a committee that we don't know who's going to be the chair of yet, but they're going to be the ones handling that.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, you're like, and there's a lot of webs to untangle here because do you want to be an athletic director who comes into Virginia Tech and a committee or someone else has gone ahead and hired the football coach? That's another thing. So, because you would think you bring in the AD if you're going to make an AD change, like maybe they're going to give Babcock another chance here. We don't know that. But if you're going to make a change, bring in the AD and have him get the lay of the land for maybe the second half of the season. And then he gets his staff in place. He gets a feel of everything. He's able to meet the big donors. He's able to see what the Board of Visitors decides when Pearson and McCarthy present the report later this month. Because what's in that report, based on ethics, is going to determine your coaching pool. Because if it stays put, you're looking for a group of 6 head coach. That's where they're at. You're not offering more than $5 million a year for salary. But if you can up it to in between with Clemson and Florida State, or even somewhere close to that, where you can raise your head coach salary pool to $8-9 million a year, the support staff, assistant coaches, that pool goes up. You're like, okay, you can have, instead of 55 staff members, you can have 75. Your recruiting budget, we're going to add another $1 million to it. If you're able to come in and say, we have the money, we found the money to do this, probably like a Jeff Monken at Army, or maybe even a Jamie Chadwell at Liberty, to, okay, now we can go through and see, hey, Shane, do you want to come to Blacksburg? Or do you go to Al Golson at South? Do you want to go wherever you want to? So, but circling back to Babcock, that was kind of cryptic in the wording from Tim Sands. I would love to know if there's a more definitive answer, or is Babcock going to be that guy that we want your hands off this coaching search right now? We like what you're doing, and maybe they don't want to pay 2 buyouts right now because Babcock's owed money through 2029, and his contract's kind of wordy, especially with money. To you don't know how much his salary is, how much his deferred compensation is. Like, we're trying to figure out Saturday in the press box, and David Thiel and I are like, how much does he owe? Virginia Tech is like, all right, well, we need more money because we need to pay him in addition to paying Brent Pry, $6.8 million. So there's a lot of that possibility where if you think Whit is capable of the job, but you just don't want him to hire the football coach, all right, he's done a great job with every other sport. We want to keep him here because he knows athletics. He's on top of the change. Let's keep him here so that way we're not having to shuffle everything around. But also, maybe at the same time, you got to tell Whit, hey, you need to restructure everything behind you and get to where you're bringing in people who are moving in the same direction with you. That's a lot of the conversations that need to be had right now. So that way, from an athletic department, everyone's moving in the right direction, and whatever this committee and the chair and all that stuff they decide, they need to get someone who can work with Whit as well and understands, hey, here's my ask of everything I need. And Babcock's like, with the resources he has, he's like, all right, yeah, we can make it happen.
It's interesting. You're right. Precarious is a good word. I can't imagine an AD who would sit there. Maybe that's his personality and say, I'm going to relinquish all control over the football program, the one that everybody cares about. I'll do all this other stuff. It feels like an addict thing that has failed completely, and he's been in charge of it. So my guess is he will not be there. My guess is he might be given the option to go ahead and retire, step down on his own, and resign. I think he's probably earned that in the eyes of Sands and the committee. But I agree with you 100%, and I love what you said because I think that's it. If you're going to get an AD, this isn't like trying to hire a coach mid-season you can't really talk to. ADs are out there. You know, you can make an offer. You can go out and make overtures, and the AD can figure out how he needs to handle it. If you find somebody you want to talk to, you need to get them in there because it really, at this point, doesn't really matter a whole lot. But how in the world does he assess the athletic program if you wait and hire him in December, and then you need a football coach, and yet he hasn't had time to kind of get the landscape, right? So what you said is absolutely true. That's why I'm going to be surprised if the whole thing about the AD.
Yeah, and I mean, they're in place by July 1st of 2026. And you let Babcock finish out the year. And you say, hey, I'm going to retire at the end of the year. It gives you time to have a full-fledged, no stone unturned search. And because honestly, who's in place at the athletic department right now that you want as the interim athletic director? I've heard the chatter about, like people aren't happy with John Boleyn, and they probably don't want him running it. So is it better to have Witt in place to run the ship for the rest of the year because he knows how to run the ship? And we've seen with like his basketball hires, his baseball, his softball hires, the fact that wrestling is thriving, that the fact that he knows the ship's going in the right direction for so many other sports, why not have him in place through the year and know, hey, we have to have a committee going to find an AD. So an AD who had no part in hiring him.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's how the world works, and you have to say, they said Witt's going to be a part of this. He's not going to have a say in it, but he's probably going to provide direction for them. So there's probably going to be a process where if Witt's still the AD, he's going to interact with the coaching candidates, and he's probably going to help with the vetting process. It's probably going to, I don't know who you bring in. Do you bring in Bruce Arians to chair? That
would make sense. Yes. Still on the committee? Absolutely. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Somebody like that.
You bring in Bruce Arians who has NFL coach and GM experience. And what are college coaches? What's a college football coach these days?
They're GMs,
you have to be a pro coach. Well, you actually have to hire a GM, and Virginia Tech football does not have a general manager right now. Well, technically they do, but this person is wearing multiple hats, and part of this adding support staff. I remember one board of visits at Virginia Tech, and like, well, what are these people supposed to do? Just get coach for cop?
Nope. Looks like we've lost Damien here. Let's see here.
Yeah.
There we go.
You need someone there who can make decisions. You need someone in charge of transfer portal recruiting. You need someone who's in charge of high school recruiting, and those people need staff there to help them out. Virginia Tech right now has one person or maybe two people manning all of that. So you're having people wearing multiple hats, and maybe your evaluation of the transfer portal is not as good as your evaluation of high school recruiting and vice versa. Maybe your roster management, you don't have a firm grasp on that because you don't have a general manager. That's what they need to do with this. You bring in someone who can say, all right, we got the money, we got the resources, we have the ability to fill all these positions. Let's fill it all out so that way we can have a full staff who, maybe they get their wires crossed sometimes and they make a wrong call. So that's part of it. Just get rid of the wearing multiple hats thing, saying doing more with less. And that's what Witt brought up. He's like, we can't do more with less anymore. Now it's, you got to have everyone in place, multiple people in place to run what is now in pro football operations at the college level and have it fully staffed. And that's part of what, like I brought up with the coaching pool, you're going to need to, these candidates are going to need to see that you want to staff everything and want to staff it to the fullest.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be some slippery slopes here soon. I've heard from hundreds and hundreds of people since Saturday. None of them want the 80 situation to remain the way it is now. I think you're going to have that going to be orated to everybody involved at Tech. It's going to be interesting to see where this goes. It just feels like they've created an awkward situation. I can't imagine that coexisting, but they do have a plan in place. The 2 weeks, as you mentioned, with the board, that could be the trigger coming up at the end of the month. So maybe those types of things will help give us some answers. And yesterday was the first step. Wait for it. Let that be absorbed. Let Philip Montgomery get the weekend against Wofford. And then once your season continues, then the noise may start to pick back up about the next step. So,
yeah, and I'd love for Tim Sampson to talk to us in the media and just answer a few questions. Like, what is the plan for athletics at
yes.
Tech? And maybe that comes after the board meeting. Or maybe that, so right now, the board isn't set to meet because I don't know if you're going to present a plan to them and they vote on it immediately, because they're probably going to need some people there to take some red pen to it and say, well, how does this balance with budget in so-and-so department? Talking on the academic side, because the Board of Visitors isn't just there for athletics. They got to deal with a whole bunch of other stuff. And if I'm not mistaken, Tech still needs to hire a provost. So there's a lot on the table there. So I don't know if they're going to immediately vote on this later this month. I know the plan's going to be presented, and it's probably going to be one of those where they get it, they have to look it over, and then you might call a session maybe sometime in October. So that
the task force, I guess. I think that's what I was heard it was called.
Yeah. So you have Pearson and McCarthy come in and say, here's everything. Here's what we think can help make this budget realistic for athletics. Then you have to go through it with a fine-tooth comb from everyone else, especially the financial side of things. Make sure everything lines up. If they vote on this in September, that means they probably presented it early and they're like, okay, we need to move forward with it quickly. So that's why I wrote something that's online this morning now.
Good
about the coaching search that people can read. It's like this stuff with the Board of Visitors. This is going to dictate what Virginia Tech does in the coaching search. And I think $35 million of that ask is football related expenses, whether it's one-time things or things that need to be on a yearly basis. So, if they give him all of it or most of it, that's going to go a long way into dictating how this coaching search unfolds. Like, if it's Babcock and Chris Manini from the Athletic wrote, he brought this up. He mentioned what Andy Bitter brought up about, there's a committee that's overseeing this. Like, if that tells you what, where Babcock's stance is right now, like where his footing is, that problem. So, there's a lot that's going into this, and the next few weeks are going to be very interesting.
Very interesting. Well, we look forward to it. Check out Damien's piece this morning. Can't wait. We'll have you on again at regular time on Wednesday to talk what you saw at the presser and what you're hearing, man. I appreciate you jumping on today. Felt like it was really important to have you on as close as you are to the program. So thank you.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
much.
Absolutely. More than happy to jump on. Glad I got a full night's sleep because I was kind of running on fumes yesterday.
Yeah, I bet so.
With everything that was going on, but more than happy to jump on this morning.
All right, brother. Well, listen, can't wait to get the info. Check it out. Everything's online, also in the physical paper as well. Damien Sordelett, the Virginia Tech football beat writer for the Roanoke Times. Thanks, brother.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. There you go. Good job by Damien. Thank him. Dwight Vick's going to join us here in about 5 minutes, by the way, to follow up our conversation that we had during the live stream after the game on Saturday night. Over 1,100 views, by the way. Thank you. I want to thank Family Fencing Studios, sponsor of our studios here in Ryder. Go see them. Free quotes, payment plans. You name the material, they've got it. Commercial, residential, agricultural. Go see them. Give them a call. 540-200-8294. Mark Hunley, McClellan Chiropractic. Thanks to them, we now have the chat room up here on the side. People like that. I just discovered it. So thank you so much for helping me out there, peeps. The attorney Ryan Pry sponsors our BDST fan question of the week. So today it's going to be who do you think eventually will be the new head coach at Virginia Tech? Send those to our professional door text line. All right. Thanks to Charles Lee, everybody at Little River Heating Air, 295 Radford Street in Christiansburg. It's going to start getting cold very soon. The leaves are changing. October is only 3 weeks away. So give Charles and those folks at Little River a call. They are the best in the world. Thanks to National Bank, member FDIC, the exclusive banking partner of BDST. They also sponsor the Fourth and Goal Show and our Athlete of the Week. Thank you so much for National Bank. And I just mentioned Professional Door, residential and commercial garage doors, family owned and operated for 38 years in business. Go see all the folks up there right across from NRCC in Dublin. They are the best, the garage doors of anywhere you're going to find. Go see them. And of course, we are presented every day here on the program by Pulaski County. We appreciate all those folks and how much they have helped us and all of our sponsors, right? So we appreciate it. Everybody here who is from Pulaski County, you understand the importance of what they're doing there. They're building entertainment. They're building something special in Southwest Virginia. All sorts of events up there, tournaments to events, concerts. Pulaski County is creating experiences for its residents while establishing itself as one of the premier destinations for sports and entertainment. PlayPulaskiVA.org, Calfee Park, of course, the Motorsports Park, and coming up soon, Pulaski County Sportsplex. And I'm very excited to see all the wonderful developments up there at Pulaski County. A lot of great stuff happening. Thank you so much. And everybody, please like and subscribe. We've gotten a lot of subscribers over the last several days, and it's awesome. We've got to get to 500. We now, I believe, I was just told, have 450. Thank you. And thanks to everybody who showed up for the live stream on Saturday night after the game. Yesterday, made post on the Facebook page. We reached over 200,000 people. Amazing. So thank you. It still blows me away. We'll get people caught up here before Dwight joins us on the chat room, and you can see it over there on the right. It's great. Said you could have hired, Matt Campbell. Yes, Tebow, you're right. He wanted the job, did not get interviewed. Says, hey, I think Tech's in a deep hole. Could be. Brad says, I don't understand how the press release doesn't mention Witt's future. No good coach will want to come here under an 80 that didn't hire him. Correct. And a committee is the worst case for hiring a coach. You don't know who your boss is. Right? And that's why I think you're going to see some more shuffling here before we get to that point. And to Damien's point, everybody who wants to know about the new coach, you don't even know how much money is going to be available. And he's right. Whatever they paid Pry, I guess we're close to $5 million. You're going to have to double that at the very least. That's the market now. And you just hear about all these buyouts. I just don't understand these universities. Brent Pry's going to get $6 million over payments. We don't know what Witt's even looks like. Why do all these schools across the country? It's not just a tech problem. It's all over. Why in the world are you agreeing to these buyouts? Is that good for business given the current economy? I don't understand. So basically, you go and you hire these coaches. If they come in and they can't do their job and you have to get rid of them before their contract, they're getting paid extra money for not doing what you hired them to do. I wish I had that kind of cushion. I bet you do too in your job. What's going to happen to us? See ya. Well, wait a minute. Where's my buyout? What? No. I don't understand it. I don't know how the business evolved to these kind of Jimbo Fisher. Everybody keeps talking about him. He's been making double digit on his buyout since he got fired by Texas A&M because he was completely inept. You don't want that guy in Blacksburg. Matthew says, can we convince Brent Key to switch techs? I don't think so. All right, joining us now on the program, and thank him so much. I keep bugging Dwight, and he's going to get mad at me, I know, because I keep asking him to join me. He's probably getting tired of seeing my face. Good morning, brother. Thank you so much for Saturday night, man. We've had over 1,100 views, and the largest part of that's because you joined me for so long. So thank you so much, and thank you for coming on early this week.
Oh, no problem, man. No problem, man. No, you're not bugging me, man. I mean, I haven't even really gotten to the full swing of my work day today, so it's all good.
All right, well, let's get into it. The news came down yesterday. You and I speculated. We thought we would hear something on Sunday, and sure enough, Brent Pry relieved of his duties. I know you weren't shocked. Were you surprised, though, to see that was the only announcement made and where this might be headed going forward?
I wasn't shocked that was the only announcement made because I think that was the obvious one. I know that there's a lot of chatter about what will happen with Witt, and I think that will get resolved as well. Ultimately, and it's not like I'm rooting for Witt to get, forced into retirement or
Sure.
But the truth of the matter is that he hired Tommy Tuberville before he came to Tech. That did not go well. He hired Fuente in the beginning. It looked like it was going to go well. That really went bad fast after those first couple of seasons. And then Pry seemed like a good hire. I know some people were saying he had no experience. Well, neither did Tony Elliott. So there's a lot of guys that don't have experience. I think, if anything, what did Pry in reflecting was you hired two inexperienced coordinators. You can't come into a program with the expectations Virginia Tech had, and then you have two guys that have never done it before. And then, coming into this season, you looked at everybody was saying that this could be Pry's last year, but he didn't coach like it. And when you're in a situation where you got to win ball games and you have, I don't even like the word favorable schedule, but I knew it was going to be tough because, I felt like Vandy at home was a winnable game, but Vandy's improved. I think when people make these schedules out in the future, you don't realize like some of these teams are actually going to get better. South Carolina was a winnable game. You were in that game. You were only down 10-8, which felt like forever. But then you didn't capitalize on it. And that could have been a signature win. ODU, I've gone on record. My daughter goes there. She's a senior now, and she's loving every bit of it. I've seen a few posts on Facebook. Good for ODU's football program. You got 3 wins against Power 4 teams, all against Tech, all because Witt signed on a contract that's longer than $295. I don't know why. I don't get why it was necessary. I got feedback from some people. Well, we're trying to win over the 757. The 757 does not care about ODU football playing Virginia Tech. That's not a game. If you win, recruits are going to take notice. You just have to roll your sleeves up, man. It's enough with the manufactured hype, and I just always felt like sometimes these guys in charge, not currently the board of visitors, but people that are in the know, they just really, I'm not saying they need to be talking to me, but they don't talk to the right people. They make a lot of stuff very complicated. They like, I don't know. I mean, Rick, and I'm being honest, I know I'm the one being asked questions, but when you saw initially us sign on to play ODU up to like 2036 or whatever, did you think that was a great?
No.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
You know what you should have fought
Yeah.
for? A series with West Virginia.
100%. Yeah.
Programs in similar situations at the time. Both had legendary coaches, you know, Nealon and Beamer, and then Rodriguez leaving West Virginia. But you had a situation where you would have made great revenue. You saw what happened when they played in FedEx. You saw when they came back to Lane Stadium and got their lick back. It is the rivalry that has lost its luster because they don't play. But when they do play, it's on and popping. So, but you go with ODU or um, JMU would have even been better because JMU can make an argument is the best program in college football right now, along with ODU actually, and maybe
Well, yeah, in the state, yeah,
in the state. But I'm going back during that time frame.
Yeah.
So you know, this has just been disappointing, and I think it's hitting harder. Like now that it's Monday, and you know, you see all the shows clowning the entrance. You see a lot of people just really taking shots of Virginia Tech's athletic department. You see a lot of recruits announcing that their recruitment is still open. Um, it'll get better over time later this year, but with the schedule with Louisville, Florida State, and Miami on the horizon later in the year, it's going to be really tough. Now, I'm slightly optimistic that sometimes teams can come together, but when you look at ODU, just some of the personnel that was on the field, just some of the things being done. Again, Drones has been talked about. He's been hit or miss. I think he's overthinking things. I feel like he's taking the blunt of the criticism. But I look at our linebackers that look like they don't know. I don't know if they would be able to find the mail if they had to go to the mailbox and check the mail. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, our receivers I think are very good, but we haven't used them. I think we got a great backfield. Coney doesn't get the reps. I don't know what they're doing with Pilo. You know, I just don't know what the rhyme or reason is. Our DBs have. I don't know what happened. We're DBU. Well, we were. And again, I just don't understand what's occurring. Um, and I think that's the frustration part for a lot of fans who understand that things happen, wins and losses do, but the rhyme and reason, you know, the effort, you know, is just that's what I didn't understand. Maybe this is a situation where some players take it personal, but they haven't taken anything personal, it seems like. The other scary part is over the weekend on Sunday on my on the national holiday, my birthday.
That's
Um,
right. Happy
they,
belated. We gave you an early happy birthday. Now a happy
Yeah,
belated birthday.
appreciate it, right? Thank you. Well, I saw some disappointing news I forgot about is that if a coach is fired prematurely before the first four games or whatever, recruits have the right to transfer and go play somewhere immediately. So that is very alarming. I don't think it's going to be a mass exodus or even maybe
Yeah.
a lot of kids because where are you going to go? And you know, truthfully, right now, except for a handful of players, you don't really have any tape that says people are going to take you.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I've been telling everybody's worried about. I'm like, it doesn't really matter. It's going to be a complete teardown anyway. Don't worry about that. You can't worry about it. So
No, and yeah, and then and this you know shows you the change in times regarding college football. They're getting paid right now. So you leave and you're making really good money in Blacksburg. Do you transfer to um, you know, not Hofstra, but Western Carolina, or where are you going to go? Because everyone's got
right.
their rosters in the plan. So, like, I don't know, man. And you know what? Sometimes in the locker room, the players. This is going to sound foreign to some people who don't understand if you never played, but just hear me out for one quick second. Sometimes in the locker room, the players are relieved or understand that this needed to happen themselves. Let me ask you a question, and maybe they've been instructed, but you can't really hold players back. I have not seen any tweets from players saying my coach is gone. This is tough. Man, I thank you so much for everything you. I'm not seeing that.
No, you're right.
Now that's always listen. I don't care if you played in the '80s or whatever, even though X and Twitter wasn't around back then or Instagram. But what I'm saying is, and again, I may be speaking prematurely, but I got a good pulse on this thing. I kept waiting to see 4 or 5, a receiver, a lineman, a tight end, somebody say, Coach Pry, thank you for everything you've done for me. Now that doesn't mean they didn't respect him, but I'm saying sometimes when there's a coaching change, the players know in the summer it's not a good situation. Now I'm going to give you some more information too, Rick.
Yeah.
I've been spending my birthday weekend and even some other days, just doing my own first 48 detective research. I was notified and informed that during Pry's tenure with NIL and all the players getting money, that Pry was involved in negotiating. So meaning your head coach is the one, along with the collectives, that was in the middle, in the mix. He was the headliner, the front runner in negotiating salaries and payments for players.
Wow.
Now, if for those listening and watching right now, the reason why that, to me, no pun intended, wearing red is a red flag, is because if you're dealing with that and all those things are occurring, it could be used as a manipulation tool for more playing time, or guys saying that, well, you told me this, I need 40 more thousand. That's a lot for a coach. Basically, essentially, your head coach is also your general manager. So that's not the case. That's not how it should be. So you look at a team like Duke basketball, they actually, I forgot her name, but she's really good. They have a general manager. UNC has the actual general manager that handles the NIL negotiation collective agreements. Pride was in the forefront of doing that. And now that explains why last year, me included, kept campaigning for him to play some of the younger guys, but he was more loyal to some of the guys that were making more money that weren't performing, but he kept them out there, which is why some people feel like that's the situation with drones. Why didn't Pop see any action on Saturday? Right? I don't know. Think about it.
Well, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense as Dwight Vick's joining us here. Special edition of Dwight after everything that happened yesterday. How did you read that statement? Obviously President Sands was the only one who had a statement. He made the decision. Witt won't be part of the new coach. This whole thing with the committee, we don't know what the salary is going to look like. People getting excited, jumping the gun about who could be the coach, but you don't know how it's going to be structured yet. It just seems like this is a very strange way, if this stays in place a long time, to go about this going forward. Because I think about something you said, DV, on Saturday night, and you're so right. Remember how you talked about the arrogance that was put forth from administration, either toward the fans, towards you, the most valuable alumni, the former players who built this. It's hard to believe that if that's in place, and I think you're right, it is, that they're just going to, somebody like Witt's going to go, okay, I'll stay, but I'm not going to have anything to do with football. I don't see that coexisting.
Yeah, but that's why I don't know how long he's going to be there. I wouldn't be surprised in another couple, after this dies down in a couple of months, it's announced that not so much he's being let go, but there's going to be a shift in his role, or he might, I don't know, I don't want to use the R word, retire. I don't know. Or, thank everybody, release a statement himself. But the truth of the matter is, this is what happens when you become complacent.
Yeah.
You have to have in life, when it comes to running a business or when you're in a leadership position, a sense of urgency. You can never rest on your laurels. You can never rest on what have you done, because the Virginia Tech football program hasn't done anything in a long time. They haven't beaten an outside conference opponent that's on a Power 4 level since 2017. They haven't been in contention to play for an ACC title in years. The entrance is now becoming mocked, which was once celebrated.
Yep.
The lunch pail should be retired. I think the lunch pail should be retired anyway. At first, I was cool with it because Pride knew what it meant. He was there when it got going. But the way, you can hold it up and you don't understand what it means because you don't play with their lunch meal mentality.
That's exactly right.
And I just feel like from Witt when he came out and he did the presser right before the season, which the timing was awful. That is a presser you do in April during the spring game month. You do not do a presser before the season starts talking about we need more money, especially when you have a team that's been underachieving. It's just you just got to look at yourself and say, what are you doing? Now, here's the flip side. Now, this has been documented by people, including yourself, has done a great job with the other sports. But here's the problem. Football, albeit, is the most popular sport, and it doesn't mean that football drives the bus at Virginia Tech, but it just means that football is always going to be the program people take a look at first, right? And football, with all the money, the stadium, and all the players and the investment made into that program, to come in and say we need more money, more donations, we're near the bottom, we're in the middle, going into the season indirectly puts pressure on your football program, right?
Yeah.
Because people like me are like, well, I just spent a package of $2,000, $2,500 to go to Atlanta, right? And now you're asking me and you're telling me we don't have money when ODU doesn't even have a third of what you guys have, and they came in and they beat you by 21, right? Again, having a feel, reading the room, having a feel and understanding of what's going on. Why haven't you been understanding of timing? Why don't you understand what you're supposed to be doing in an administrative part? Like, it's just, again, I said this to you the other night, man, and to your listeners, man, and watching everybody watching, is that it was very selfish. It's very selfish by a lot of people, man. It's going to be interesting to see how this thing plays out. I'm a silver lining positive guy. If the right people on the board of visitors and the committee understand what Virginia Tech needs, it could be salvaged. It could be okay. I mean, you look at Florida State; they were 2-10 last year. They were playing the same way we were playing, and they had talent and this, that, whatever. And they were stuck in quicksand. And then now, a year later, they're really doing very well. ODU, a program that was terrible last year. They're off to a great start, 2-1. So, not to say we're either one of those programs. It's just one of those things where, in this day and age, you can recover quickly if the right hires and decisions are made.
That's right, and that's why I think that next step has to be that position, the AD's position. I just don't see how. And there's been a clamoring for that to be changed because that's how everybody's looking at it. You've been the figurehead of the department. But you're right, it goes above that. And Damien brought up Bruce Arians maybe being part of this committee. I think that's a great idea. I think that makes a lot of sense. But again, though, do you form the committee before you make a move on the AD? And something else Damien said makes a lot of sense. I wanted to ask you, DV, wouldn't you want to have an AD in place, a new one, if you're going to go that route? And all signs point that's what they're going to do. So he can be there for a couple months, get a lay of the land, not worried about the football season, but talk to the board, talk to the leaders you're talking about, the people who might be part of the committee, help be part of forming that committee. And then when it's time to go out and have a national coaching search, you're going to know what kind of budget you have. You're going to be able to vet several candidates and do it right so that new coach knows that you're the guy in charge of hiring him. If you go about it this way, how's a coach going to come in and work for a committee? It just seems a little strange to me.
I think if you explain it to them right, it is strange. I think if you explain it to them right, they'll take the job. There are a lot of people that want to get back into coaching. There are a lot of coaches out there who are qualified, some overqualified for the Virginia Tech job, meaning they were at really, really great programs and they want to get back because once you get into coaching and you really love it and you're good at it, you miss it. It's an addiction. It's a passion you have for it. So I think if they explain it to him right, and I'm sure given the attention Virginia Tech's getting right now, people will understand. And maybe Witt's a part of it where he sells them on it. I don't know. Maybe Witt's bitter. Maybe he's mad because he's caught a lot of heat. It's crazy the last few weeks, man. I've seen people shooting screenshots of Witt and Pry blocking them on Twitter.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's been feeling the heat. There was talk of a protest by the student body over the weekend. So Sands came out because he's not stupid. He understands what drives the bus at Virginia Tech. And you don't want any kind of like negative energy around your campus like that. Now, again, you talk about what kind of coach you're going to get and hiring and money. If you look at, how can I say this? I'm not trying to compare it to Beamer. What I'm saying is, to me, Virginia Tech was winning games last year. They won 6 games last year. Should have won probably 8 or 9. With a very good roster, but they were incompetent and they really weren't a smart football team regarding time management, rotation, and how they use their personnel. They gave up a monster lead against Syracuse. Syracuse won 9 games last year. They played Duke tough, came back, had a chance to make it a game, win the game. Duke won, I think, 9 games themselves. The year before, that Tech went 7-6. So you're talking about 2 seasons, the last 2 seasons, where they were winning games, not to the level of Virginia Tech fans wanting to win, but
Sure.
they won, 6 games, and then they won 7-6 against Tulane, and then the following year, they won 6 games. They beat UVA at home, and then they got beat by Minnesota in the bowl game. But here's my point of bringing up those 2 seasons. They were doing all of that with people that shouldn't have been coaching in those positions. They were doing pretty good with coaches who were being paid pretty good money, but were making head scratching decisions. So imagine you get a solid coach, a good coach, because everybody's like, no more, playing with pennies. We got to get a big hire. We got to get a name. I'm not saying we don't. What I'm saying is, to me, and this is my feedback to anybody listening and watching right now, I'm looking at again, it's early with Tony Elliott, and he was on the hot seat this summer too. And it's a lot of season left to be played, right? But what I'm saying is sometimes you just got to get a good coach with a good staff that knows what they're doing. I just feel like I remember when Fuente was here, and I forgot who didn't travel to Boston College, was a key starter. And after the game, he says in the post-game presser, I had no idea he wasn't coming. He wasn't playing. And everybody was like, what? And again, there was so many. So what I'm saying is Fuente knows how to coach, but he could not manage his program and his team. Brent Pry still knows how to coach, but he just was in over his head as a head coach. So, in regarding managing his team and deciding when a guy is named the starter or moving somebody up, and then him being part of NIL negotiations was a problem. What I'm saying is there are plenty of qualified coaches who know how to handle both managing their team, their roster, and also X's and O's. I don't think Virginia Tech needs to overthink this thing. I do know, and I know many people agree with me on this, and you've said it as well. This is the most important hire in Virginia Tech football history.
Yeah, it is. And that's why I think that they quickly let people know that Whit Babcock won't be part of it. He's 0 for 2. He's 0 for his entire athletic director career in hiring football coaches. That's why I don't think this is going to be sustainable if they try to leave him over there. Damien suggested maybe that's their plan, let him handle the rest of the stuff. I can't see that being the case, but we shall see. But I don't know if the alumni like yourself, the donors, are going to accept that as President Sands is going to get told what to do, right, by the board. He's going to be encouraged what the next move has to be. And I can't imagine them not wanting the whole thing just completely torn apart at this point.
People have brought up John Boleyn's name involved in it, because he signed off and he pushed for Pry. I think this is a word, it's one of my favorite words, and I said this to you before. I've tweeted about it. I may even tweet after we get off this show. And the word is accountability. I think people were not holding themselves accountable. I feel like accountability has not been at the forefront of running the football office.
100%.
I feel like there's some really good people in the office as far as people dealing with, alumni relations. I mean, since Pry got there, it had been better. The spring game and things like that, smaller issues, right? Stuff as far as branding and marketing and, the videos and all of that. That stuff has been great at Virginia Tech, but high schools today have a department for that as well. But when it comes to the major issues, to making sure this is a program that wins games and that is competitive and looks like they have an idea of who they are as a program, the Virginia Tech administrators and everybody involved have failed mightily. And I'm just beyond disappointed, man. I am, I can share this with you and everybody listening. I was texting with Bud Foster over the weekend. Bud Foster texted me on my birthday, and I'm a big fan of Bud Foster. We have a personal relationship, and it's one of those things where I think, and we're not the only program like this, but I know that when stuff like this happens, you have two reactions. You have the reaction as fans, like, wow, this is tough and I hate it. I'm wearing the brown bag and I'm booing. And then you have the people like me and Bud and Devon Morgan, Willie Powell, DJ Parker, Todd Washington, Corey Moore, Michael Vick, a lot of people who are like, what the hell are y'all doing?
Right.
And it hurts. It hurts. Like, that's the part, like, all this about the red tape and bureaucracy and we're going to do this and this is policy. Listen, do what you're supposed to do and get the right guy and the staff in place. You played around with this stuff. I'm not going to use, you hear people get mad and say they're stealing money, but you have people getting paid very well to not do their job.
Right. Right.
That's the problem.
That's it.
It's I remember I'm older now. Obviously, I just celebrated a birthday. I remember looking at Michigan when I was younger, and Lloyd Carr being run out of town because he couldn't beat Ohio State.
Right, one team. Right.
Yeah, but he won, but it wasn't enough, and he was held accountable. And Michigan eventually got their guy. And you look at other programs that get their guy and how well they do, because you have to be accountable. I mean, I look at Miami. Miami was in a similar situation like Virginia Tech a few years ago. They brought in Cristobal. A lot of people say move away from the Beamer era, move away. I can respect that. But Cristobal is a Miami guy, played there, coached elsewhere, had mixed results, came back to Miami, and he's just doing what makes sense. And Miami, since he's gotten there, after that first year where they struggled, they had that horrible loss to Georgia Tech at home.
Yeah.
They're killing it right now. Georgia Tech is doing very well. That game is going to be super ugly when we play them in Atlanta. They're going to destroy us unless, guys rally together. But the point I'm getting at is Georgia Tech has figured it out. Miami's figured it out. A lot of times you hear the term copycat league. Why aren't we just copying what other successful administrators and programs do? You can cheat on this test. You can look at
it's fine. Right.
You can cheat and look and say, what is ODU doing? What is UVA doing? UVA after they got beat by us that one year, they were like, we have to get serious about football. And they got all these facilities. They really brought in some resources and money, and they got donations. We have to get serious about football and take the personal agendas out and leave the nepotism alone and make sure people are being hired that are qualified and know 100%. What they're doing.
Well, it's going to be an interesting next couple of weeks, to say the least. And man, I really appreciate you jumping on today. And we, not even worried about. Everybody wants to know about the rest of the season. We'll see how Phil Montgomery does. It makes sense that he got the nod, but it's all about what's going to happen next in terms of this structure before we can get into the future. And maybe this was eye-opening to the people that matter the most over there, right? The board, the donors, the people like that. And it just feels like to me that that the entire thing is going to be torn down at this point, doesn't it? Feels like.
Yeah, and that's the part that makes some people scared and makes some people sad and makes some people uncomfortable. Because what does that mean? Like, people hear that, they think SMU. I don't think it's going to be death penalty where it takes you 30 years to recover. What I'm saying is, when I hear it, I hear basically put the right people in charge and get the right people in there. And again, they clean house. They clean house. I mean, that happens everywhere. I mean, those guys coaching over there, they understand the business. I hate it for my brothers in Pearson Prelo and J.C. Price. Kavea Winslow is over there. There's a lot of people there that know what they're doing. Adibi just got promoted to linebackers coach. He is recruiting and a great recruiter. He's got ties to the 757. He's a great guy. But again, how long, do you go with keeping this staff that are still remaining in place? You got to bring in people, like you said, you got to gut it. But I do know one thing, life will go on. And if you're talking about irrelevancy, we are in the epitome of no one cares. After this week, when they play, hopefully they beat Wofford, it'll be talked about in the highlights, but no one cares about Tech anymore. And that's the hardest part of everything. Right now, Virginia Tech football is not an afterthought. It's a no thought.
Correct.
Nobody cares about Virginia Tech football right now when it comes to a national brand or even a state brand. JMU, ODU, UVA, hell, even William & Mary right now. Nobody cares. And that's the part where when I went off on your show the other night and I pointed my finger about like you were selfish, not you, but the people in charge.
Yeah.
You really met, you really screwed up a bad thing. Now you can always get back on track, but now you got to earn your salary. You got to work. Cause some of y'all been sitting there going to the Cheesecake Factory and, top of the stairs and PKs having a great time, taking shots and getting wings. Meanwhile, the program is headed for the iceberg in the middle of the Atlantic.
Right.
We'll see.
Well, listen, brother, have a great rest of the week. Looking forward to talking to you on Thursday. I promise I won't bother you again until Thursday. But
no, you're fine, man. You can text me. You're not bothering me. I respect the fact people want to hear from me and respect my insight. I really do.
Well, we appreciate you sharing it with us, brother. And have a great week. And again, happy belated birthday. And maybe your present still to come with proper decisions that are going to be made and a brighter outlook on Tech football going forward.
Yes, thank you so much. Just win Saturday. You can get a win because I don't know how many you're going to have this year. So just get a win,
Right. Yeah, start with a win on Saturday. Exactly.
Yep. All right, we'll talk Thursday.
All right, brother. Take care, man. Have a great week.
You too.
All right. There you go. That's Dwight Vick. Such good stuff from Dwight. We thank him so much. And we want to thank all of our sponsors here as we're a little over, but hey, you have Dwight on, you never worry about being over. Family Fencing Studios, McClellan Chiropractic, the attorney Brent Pry, our BDST fan question of the week. Who would you like to see be the new head football coach? Little River Heating and Air. Obviously, we're presented each and every day by Pulaski County Sports Entertainment, National Bank member FDIC, and Professional Door Incorporated sponsor of our BDST text line. Folks, thank you so much for all of your attention. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for your comments. Please watch our videos on the channel, like and subscribe. We have a new Instagram page as well. I'll talk more about that this week, so go and follow that. And thank you for your support. And thank you again for everybody who interacted with me. Over 200,000 people interacted with our post we made on the BDST Facebook page yesterday alone. Just incredible. We're getting out there. I owe it all to you. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope this helped get your week off to a good start. Thanks to Jermaine Ferrell, Damien Sordelett, Dwight Vick, Mike Burnup on tomorrow. A lot of stuff going on tomorrow. We're still trying to position some guests as well, so we'll keep you posted. Check us out on the Facebook page. We'll let you know. Enjoy your Monday, everybody. Please keep supporting the show. Need you, and we'll see you tomorrow on the Tuesday edition. So long, everybody.